So how do you do that in English? It's harder. Because I was saying to the English teachers, we were in a lab, so we're in a part of a teacher laboratory, which we're trying to figure out good methods for teaching reading. And it's hard to show what's in your head cognitively around reading. But we're going to attempt to do that today around some close reading. So when you're reading, you're really going on a journey of thought. You start one place in the novel, and teachers, I'm going to give you this PowerPoint. And you end up someplace else. When you start reading Julius Caesar, you're thinking one thing, but as you learn more about the characters, their motivations, and Shakespeare's themes, you come around to some new thinking. And if you reread it, you'd come around to more new thinking. But the first job of the reader, always, in any situation, is first to read it and make the movie in their mind of what's happening in the story. So you're reading and you're picturing, this happened and this happened and this happened. That's the first thing that you do. Yeah. The second thing, though, and this is mostly what you work on in high school, is zooming in and unpacking the text. That is, looking at, reading it closely to figure out what the author's intent was and how they were able to. You're analyzing the subtext. So here is the teaching point. So this is what I want you to leave here knowing, okay? And that is that readers read closely and notice words that are surprising, important, or repeated in order to understand themes, that is the heart of the story, explored in the text. That's the main thing. So we're going to read for phrases and words that are surprising, important, or repeated to try to understand what the author wants us to know, think, feel, or believe, the theme. We're going to use this certain method called SIR, S-I-R, looking for things that are surprising, important, or repeated. And we're going to use a particular instrument to do that. But first, I'm just going to read you this poem. You just don't need to do anything except the first job of the reader. That is to make the movie in your mind. Now I'm going to warn you before I start, this poem is weird. Okay, this is a weird poem and you're going to be a little startled when I first start to read it. Okay? It's called Maybe That's Your Problem Too. Maybe That's Your Problem Too. That's the name of the poem by Jim Hall. He's a college professor at the University of New Hampshire. All my problems, who knows, maybe everybody's problems, is due to the fact, due to the awful truth that I am Spider-Man. I know, all them dumb jokes, no flies on you, and the one about, what do I do with all those extra legs in bed? Well, that's funny too, yeah. But you try being Spider-Man for a month or two, go ahead. You get those calls from the governor. Governor's asking you to trap some burglar who's only trying to rip off color TV sets. Now, what do I care about TV sets? But I pull on the suit, the stinking suit, with the sucker cups on the fingers. And I get my ropes and my little bundle of equipment, and then I go flying like crazy across the town from rooftop to rooftop, till there he is, some poor dumb color TV slop, and I fall on him and we wrestle a little till I might get him all roped. So, big deal. You think when you're Spider-Man, there's something big gonna happen to you. Well, I tell you what, it don't happen that way. Nothing happens. Governor calls, I go, bring him to police, governor calls again, like that, over and over. I think I tried something different. I think I tried something exciting, like racing cars, something to make my heart beat at a different rate. But then, you just can't quit being something like Spider-Man. You're Spider-Man for life, forever. I can't even burn my suit. It's flame resistant. So, maybe that's your problem too. Who knows? Maybe that's the whole problem with everything. Nobody can burn their suit. They all flame resistant. Who knows? Will you turn and talk and tell which scene in this very weird poem is most vivid in your mind? What part were you picturing as I was reading? Can you turn and talk? Guys, Alyssa and I were just talking, and I want you to make a note somewhere at the bottom of this. Why would Jim Hall give Peter Parker this speech issue? Like, that's a question everybody that I read this poem to, they think about that. Peter Parker's the name of Spider-Man. Oh, the name of the author, Jim Hall, I think it's at the bottom. So why would he? What's that about? The other thing we were also talking about that you might want to annotate is the idea of Spider-Man's name is typed really in caps every time.
Wow.
So think about that and make some notation around that too, okay? So notation around just the speech problem, the speech issue, and also about the capitalization. Because people, all of you as I'm going around listening, are all wondering about that same thing. It's that I already see that, you know, you're ready for more. Because I got kids when I was listening in who are already going right to the theme, okay? And that's one of the reasons is because this text is in the shallower end of the pool, okay? So people were picturing all kinds of things. It was very interesting, Megan, yes? She was picturing the narrator or author as a little kid, like a little kid telling this, because little kids often have that problem with their R sounds. And of course, all little kids want to run around with the cape on. So I thought that was really super interesting. These guys went right to the theme. Over here, we were talking about the idea of Spider-Man coming and dropping down on this guy who's trying to steal his stupid television. He's roping him up. Yeah. So you've already done the first job of the reader, which is just to make the movie in their mind. But the second job is to start to unpack it. We're going to unpack it using clicky pens. You know, these 4-colored pens that look like that? Anytime you come across a line that's surprising, you'll underline it in red, and you'll make an annotation. That means a note. Do they know the word annotation? Annotation's a little note about your thinking, yeah? And anything important in green, anything repeated in blue. Can you get the light so people will be able to see this better? So let me tell you, so right now, teachers, I'm going to model my thinking. In other words, I'm going to do what they call a think aloud, as though I'm reading the poem for the first time. You know what, teachers? Hold off and let me do this first before you give it out. Just hold off for a minute. So listen to this. When I first saw this poem, this is the I do part, the modeling part. Well, the first thing I thought that was surprising, when I first read this, I came across this poem in an anthology. I couldn't read it. I couldn't decode it. I was like, maybe that's your problem too? I'm thinking, what the heck? Somebody here has a speech problem. And then, oh my goodness, it's Spider-Man. So I'm thinking, this is quite surprising that we have Spider-Man with a speech problem as the narrator. Odd, because lots of times you think of poems as kind of dry or about flowers or, I don't know, not about Spider-Man and not with a speech problem. Anytime I'm surprised by something, I make a note of that. Then, when I came to this line, I'm thinking, is due to the fact, due to the awful truth. Why would being a superhero be the awful truth? Would it be like the glorious truth? The great truth? Like the happy truth? But it says an awful truth. So I thought, well, why is it an awful truth to be a superhero? That's surprising to me. Then this line where he says, but you try being Spider-Man for a month or two. Go ahead. I'm thinking, well, that's kind of like a challenge, like kind of sarcastic. Like, you go ahead, see how you like it. So I wrote that down because I thought that was kind of important. Another thing I thought was kind of important was down here in this part where he says, I fall on him and we wrestle a whittle and I get him all roped up. So big deal. Well, I thought, well, that part, so big deal, seems important to me because I've seen the Spider-Man movies. And I think of Spider-Man as kind of a big deal. So I'm wondering, I think it's kind of ironic, I mean, sort of meaning the opposite of the way it should be, that yeah, being Spidey is a big deal. So why here is he saying, yeah, big deal, I do my job? The other thing I wanted to see what I could find that was repeated, and who knows, and I know, is repeated here. And I'm thinking, I just want to pay attention to that knowing part. What's he trying to know? All right? What's he trying to figure out? Who knows? The other thing is, whip off color TV sets. Then he says, what do I care about TV sets? Here he says, distinct suit. And I think there he's emphasizing like, it's so boring. Governor calls you, and he calls you again, over and over. Like he's repeating these things to give you the idea, it's kind of boring. So those were kind of the thoughts I had in my head. And then I want to ask myself, well, what issues or ideas?
Matt Mulligan to the security booth. Matt Mulligan to the security booth, please.
Might be hiding in this subtext. So as I've unpacked it with Sir, I'm trying to figure out, well, what's the point? What's Jim Hall want me to be thinking about? So sometimes I help myself by using a chart like this. Sometimes words here don't help me, and sometimes they do. So I'm looking at this issues commonly explored in literature, and right away I think jealousy really comes up for me, because the part where he's talking about, because I've always been kind of jealous of superheroes. Like, I'd like to have superhero powers. I'm kind of jealous, but then I'm thinking, well, no, I better not be jealous of this guy because he doesn't sound like he's liking his life very much. So I can take myself through sort of a list of questions. If I want to go from the movie in my mind to a theme, well, what's one issue being explored in this poem? I think jealousy is being explored. What the author wants me to know or realize or understand about that issue? Maybe don't waste my time being jealous. Jealousy is kind of a wasted emotion because your jealousy may be sort of misdirected. I think that because in the text he's like, yeah, you try it, see how you like it, we're a big deal. So see, teachers, I'm getting to quote the text. And then the idea this gives me about my life is don't waste my time being jealous of other people that I think have a more exciting life. That's what I'm thinking. So now is the part you're going to do with your partner. Can we hit the lights? So teachers, if you'll give out clicky pens, I'm going to give you this poem. I've unpacked the first part. I want you to highlight and annotate, or underline and annotate. Teachers, if you can help me give these out, that'll be good. Give these out, thanks. So I want you to put your name on your paper. And I want you, I've already unpacked the first half of the poem. I want you to start to work with your partner and confer about lines that are surprising, important, or repeated in the second half of the poem. Starting with, you think when you Spider-Man, that's where you're going to start. And then, but I want to show you my rule. Teachers, this is like one of my rules for life. Here, let me go back here. Watch this, guys. You see that every time I've underlined in a color, so here these things are repeated because they're in blue. Green is important, red is surprising. But if you underline, you must put a note about your thinking. So this is the way for you to show your work, show your thinking, so that your English teacher could see whether you put it messing up or you're really on target, okay? And of course it's called annotation. But the clicky pen sort of helps you to think about these different things, the SIR method, surprising, important, and repeated. So get going, guys. I want you to underline and annotate surprising, important, or repeated in the second half of the poem. So go for it. And you can confer with your partner. And teachers, we're going to go around and see what's happening. What was surprising, important, or repeated? Yeah, go ahead. Can you be really loud, please?
When he says governor, he keeps like repeating himself, saying that he's getting tired of like doing the same thing over and over.
Over and over again. And so that's both important and repeated. So sometimes you'll have two colors underlining the same thing. When the author repeats something, that means it is important. And why is that important to sort of the message of the poem?
It kind of just tells like the reader that he's just like getting tired of like,
Same old, same old.
Same old.
Right,
Nothing
like
new.
his life is boring.
Yeah.
What else did people mark as important? Something else that was important. I think I got these, you two guys at the back, I had a good conversation with you. What else was important on your list? Guys, I'm talking to you. Is something else that you said what you thought was important, and you had smart thinking, so I want you to share it.
For, we did repeat for burning a suit, and it shows that you can't change who you are.
You can't change who you are. Then he keeps saying, I tried to burn my suit, but I can't, it's flame resistant. So maybe that's your problem too. Nobody can change their suit. That seems sort of important, yeah. Did everybody get one of these? Okay, so now, anything else anybody wants to say about this? Oh, somebody, I think it was, maybe it was you, I think I spoke with her, Megan. I try something, how many people underline, I try something different, I try something exciting, like racing cars. How many people mark that? Why did that seem important? Could you turn, like, insert terms so you can tell people?
Because it's just so random. Like, why not want to, like, do something that he, like, why wouldn't he want to be a firefighter, like, do something else, like.
Well, right, the job that the
Yeah.
superheroes do is to help others.
Yeah, like,
But he's
why-
saying, I want to be a racing car driver.
Yeah, like, why not pick something that's helpful still to.
Others, that's
Others.
interesting. I've never had a student say that before. Usually what I have students say is, well, you think being Spider-Man is pretty exciting and would make your heart go at a different rate, but now he wants to be like a NASCAR racer, right?
Yeah, which is
But
not
you're,
interesting.
yeah, but in his role, he's supposed to be helping others and he doesn't pick something. So that's very interesting, that's nuanced, very interesting, thank you. Okay, so now we're gonna move it forward a little bit. How much time do I have, guys?
We are 37.
37, good, that's good, I got time. So I want you to look at these issues commonly explored in literature just the way I did. I want you to circle, talk to your partner about it and see, if you had to circle like 3 of these that you think are explored in this poem, do that, all right? Talk to your partner about that. Like 3 of these that you think are most strong in this poem. Look them all over, and you might think of something that's not on this list. Maybe the thing you're thinking about isn't even here. You choose one of those, okay? One of those. Pick the one you feel most invested in, all right? And turn your paper over. So pick it and then turn this thing over, all right? Now I'm going to take you through the same line of questioning that I modeled, all right? So I want you to write your answers to this. You just need to jot them down, okay? So if you want to go from making the movie in your mind to thinking about theme, here's one way you could do it. So one issue explored in the poem is write the word down. You don't need to write the sentence down, just write the one word down. So if you, tell me some things people chose. What did you pick? Identity. What did other people? Suffering. Somebody else. Freedom, longing, greed. Dreams. Anything else? Say it again. Choice. No self-acceptance, huh? I'm just teasing you. Okay, now, here's the next question. Stick with what you got. What does the author want you, the reader, to realize, understand, know, feel, or believe about that idea? Like, if you pick dreams, what does Jim Hall want you to know, the reader? What's his point about dreams? What does he want you to know about dreams based on this poem? What does he want you to know about your identity? What does he want you to know about greed? So take a moment to answer that question. What the author wants, what Jim Hall wants me to realize is that about whatever word you chose, whatever issue you chose. Question for you, sorry, it was a commercial break here. And what in the text, I'm gonna cut to the chase, hold on. What in the text makes you say that? And then what idea, like if you pick dreams, what is that, what implications does that have for my own life? Like how is that related to me? How is that lesson pertinent to my life or to the world around me? You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna switch gears a little bit. Teachers, I'll need you to, another piece of paper to actually write, what I call, teachers, I call this stopping and jotting or writing long. I want you to write long for the next 11 minutes about what issue you think is explored in this poem. And so I want you to answer these questions in the box, okay? I'm going to ask you to put your name on that. So you've already done a little readiness for it, and I think I want you to do this on your own, not with the help of your partner. Not with the help of your partner, on your own. So I want you to write in that box, answering these questions at the top, the same ones we've just been talking about. So teachers, can you, I'll come back there in 1 minute. So I want you, you've got about 10 minutes. I want you to do a nice job with this, because we're going to be looking at these. So lots of people just numbered these and given a very short answer, okay? I want you to look back at your answers. I want you to choose one of your answers, and I want you to do what I call write long about that answer. In other words, I want you to say more to me about that answer. So any one of these questions, except number one, because number one is basically a one-word answer. Pick one of these questions, and then in the space you have left in the block or in the back, I want you to say more about that idea. Okay? Say more about that idea. Brian, and could you stop writing for a minute? He's going to share his thinking about this, and then about what implications it has for his life. So go ahead, Brian.
Alright, so
You need to be loud, though, so people can hear you.
basically, like, especially as being American, we've grown up.
Well, wait, first tell them what thing you chose as your issue.
I chose identity.
Okay.
Who we are. So.
What do you think Jim Hall wants you to know about identity?
I think he wants us to appreciate what we already have and who we already are, instead of looking at who we can be or who we should be. Like, we're all our individual person. Sometimes we get so sunken into it, we stop seeing what we already have, and we start wanting the next best thing or being someone else, when you should appreciate what you are now and just strive to be the better you, not the better next best thing. Like, not getting the iPhone 7, just appreciating what you have right now.
So then, Brian and I were talking about Americans, and then I was giving him a word for it, consumerism. Like, and he was talking about the iPhone, like new iPhone. Now people are standing in line for like 4 hours to try to get the iPhone, right? So America sort of has this consumer culture that can lead to this. Thank you so much for sharing. So will you read over what you've written again? And I'm gonna collect it in a minute, and then, did they have anything they need to do for tonight? Okay. Do they have independent reading books that they're reading, or are they reading Ulysses? I'm just thinking. No. Okay, fine. They have the night off. So, is there anybody else that would like to share before we close things up?
Yeah, David would.
No volunteering others. I'm saying somebody else has to volunteer. All right, I want you to right now to do this. Reread quickly what you've written and see if there's anything else. When we go back into the lab, the teachers, we're going to look at what you've written as a part of like a formative assessment. Reread what you have and make sure it makes sense, and make sure your name is on the top of your page. Your name is on the top of your page. No, I'm only going to want this. Okay? Keep it, because tomorrow we're going to revisit this. We may revisit this poem. I'm not sure what we're going to do, so hold on to this. When did you think it'd be better for us to collect all of them? Or hopefully bring them back tomorrow? Should we collect?
No, they should.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
And teachers, when you see people are done, teachers can help me collect the clickies. And I'm going to be back tomorrow, and you may continue with this or go in another direction.